Hi everyone, I'm literally here with George R. R. Martin right now. I can't believe this. I'm on a mission to ask as many authors as humanly possible to convince me to read their favorite books. I'm currently at Worldcon and apparently there's like 400 authors here, and I was just thinking, who better to recommend me reading a book than people that actually write them? Now for this video, I am on a mission to get a recommendation from 4 different authors, and this is going to be insanely hard, but author number 1 that I would love to get a recommendation from is no other than George R. R. Martin. Yes, he is here at Worldcon. Now apparently there's a lot of beef between Worldcon and George R. R. Martin because he wanted to do like a panel or signing and they kinda rejected him. Yes, there's apparently some drama from 2020 that I don't have the insights into, but Worldcon literally kinda rejected George R. R. Martin, which is insane, which also means that he doesn't have a panel and I'm not sure how I'll find him. I'll just have to walk around and hope I bump into him. And I don't know if he has security guards or whatever, but I'll do my very best. Author number 2, Joe Abercrombie, the author of the First Law universe. Absolutely love Joe Abercrombie. And to get a book recommendation from one of my favorite authors of all time would just be mind-blowing. Author number 3, Scott Lynch, the author of the Gentleman Bastard sequence. I read The Lies of Locke Lamora last year, and honestly, one of my favorite books of all time. I would just love to meet him. And fourthly, S.A. Chakraborty is also here. The stupendously famous author of The Adventures of Alminas Al-Sarafi, I definitely butchered her name, and City of Brass. Now obviously, I'm going to hunt down other authors as well, but if I can just get one of these authors, it would literally make my day. I then headed to the conference area, and this conference is huge. I think there are around 4,000 to 5,000 people here, which is mad. But before I knew it, I started bumping into so many amazing authors, including one of my new recent favorites, Richard Swan. I'm here with Richard Swan, the author of The Justice of Kings, one of my favorite recent trilogies. Richard, can you convince me to read a book?
I would like to convince you to read the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee, most recently ending with Jade Legacy. I think it's one of the best modern fantasy trilogies in existence. It's a combination of martial arts, gangster crime, family drama. It's got everything you could ever want and more, and I think everybody should read it.
Oh, I totally agree. I love that trilogy. I mean, I love what you wrote, but yeah, you also have good taste in books.
It's better than my book.
Read the Greenbone Saga, definitely.
Thanks, man.
All right, I'm here with Norbert Zsivicz. Try to do that. The author of The Sealed Empire. Norbert, can you convince me to read a book?
Yeah, I'm gonna convince you to read The Little Prince. It's a really small book. They say it's a child book, but it's not a child book actually. It's really for grown-up parents to, how to say, but basically to rediscover the magic in the world. Like they're not just strict phone numbers for salaries, so it's not give up your dreams basically. Embrace the child inside you. And it's a really short read. I mean, it's just a few hours. So on a Sunday night, you can just read it and maybe you discover something that you feel you lost. It's a good one.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's a classic, yeah. I'll pick that up if I need something a bit lighter than the epic fantasy I usually read. Thank you so much, Norbert. I'm here with Nicholas Eames, the author of Kings of the Wild. Nicholas, can you convince me to read a book?
Sure, I would like you to read The Black-Tongued Thief by Christopher Buehlman. It's by the same editor as my own book, Kings of the Wild, so obviously she has an eye for extremely great literature, and it is absolutely hilarious. I'm one of those people that turns down the page of a corner of a page if they love a particularly beautiful sentence. Yeah. And with The Black-Tongued Thief, I sometimes couldn't turn down the page because I had already turned down the previous page. Wow. And I annoyed the heck out of my girlfriend because as I was reading, I was like, oh my God, listen to this. Oh my God, listen to this. It is so clever, so funny, dark, hilarious, phenomenal, effortless world building. And you will never look at goblins the same way again. It is terrifying. They are terrifying.
It's a good recommendation, and similar vibes to actually your book as well, isn't it? With a bit of humor and...
Yeah, it's definitely darker than my book, and it's got like deeper world building than my book, but yeah, similar vibes, humor-wise.
Excellent, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I've gotten recommendations from 2 authors now, The Greenbone Saga and The Little Prince. Amazing. However, my goal is to speak to one of these 4 authors is still in progress. But that all changed the next day when I was invited to a party by the publisher Tor when I suddenly saw Joe Abercrombie there. What? Now it felt rude to go up to him and ask him to record a video with me while he was socializing and having a drink. But you know what they say, no risk, no reward. So I approached him and asked him if he would be willing to sign some stuff for me first, and then I just went for it, and here's the result. Okay, I was actually able to hunt down the legendary Joe Abercrombie, one of my favorite authors. Joe, can you convince me to read a book?
I'm not sure whether I can convince you, but I would recommend the legendary Mythago Wood by Robert Holstock, which is a classic of British fantasy, centering on a mystical, magical forest in which myths become real, and a young man, a war veteran, who is sucked in to this legendary world in which nothing is quite as it seems, and he must contend with villains from the past in order to free the love of his life. But will he ever be able to emerge from the forest?
That sounds incredible. I need to read that.
World Fantasy Award winner, Robert Holstock. Great book.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I literally can't believe I just got a book recommendation from Joe Abercrombie. That is absolutely insane. That means that I have one author down and still 3 to go. And George, where are you? I'm not gonna stop looking until I find him. On the third day, I was giving a tip from a fellow booktuber that I could potentially accidentally bump into Scott Lynch himself if I showed up at a specific hotel at 1 p.m. So that's what I did. We were sitting in the lobby and lo and behold, look who showed up. So I've been able to find Scott Lynch, one of my all-time favorite authors. Scott, can you convince me to read a book?
Convince you to read a book. Why would I do that? Why would anyone read books? What sort of freak writes them or reads them? Get out while you can. No, the book that I will recommend is not technically in the fantasy genre, though it is, fantastical, quasi-historical. It is called True Grit by Charles Portis. And I guess technically you could call it a Western. And it's been filmed twice, back in 1969 with John Wayne and in 2010 by the Coen brothers. And I love the 2010 version. It's one of my favorite movies. But the film adaptation, the Coens suited perfectly because of the uniqueness of its voice. It is a short novel. It is a brisk novel. It is absolutely charged with the power of its narration, the tone, the vocabulary, and just the general sensibilities of Maddie, the young woman who is telling the story. Or I should say the older woman who's telling the story of what happened when she was a young woman. And it, like I said, give it a shot. It's brisk, it's full of incident, it flies by in a jiff, and it is just powerfully affecting. The language is absolutely brilliant. It's a classic for a reason, whether you're interested in the American West or not.
That was a beautiful description. Thank you so much.
So yes, read that book. Oh, and also The Lies of Lockamore, read that. And
definitely read Lies of Lockamore.
Anything by Joe Abercrombie. They're really easy. Children can get into them. Very simple, simple vocabulary. Anyone can follow those things.
Very, very clean books.
Yes. Very, very uncomplicated and yes, suitable for children up to age 8. So.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I can't believe that worked. Jackson, I owe you one. I literally just got to talk to Scott Lynch and he recommended me a book. I'm absolutely so excited. So let's go looking for some more authors. And let's hope we can find the remaining 2 authors, Shannon Chakraborty and George R.R. Martin. I've been now looking for 3 days. I don't know where that guy is. George, I'm not giving up. I'm going to find you. However, while I'm searching for those 2 remaining unicorns, I decided to hunt down some other authors to chat with, and before I knew it, I was getting recommendations again. Now, before we continue this video, I need to introduce today's sponsor, who actually made my trip to Worldcon possible. Cause yes, they sponsored my trip, and I'm so glad to say that today's sponsor is the Broken Binding. Now, if you watch my channel, then you have heard me talk about the Broken Binding so often, and yes, I am a huge fanboy, and I don't think that's ever gonna change. Now, if you don't know what the Broken Binding is, then they are a fantasy and sci-fi bookshop that specializes in making these beautiful special editions. Now, I'll showcase just some of the editions here, but they have so many incredible ones, and they also have both a fantasy and a sci-fi subscription that you can sign up for, but I'll just let you know now, the waiting lists are quite long, so if you want a chance to get on it, I would recommend signing up right now. Now, the Broken Binding is so popular that their special editions constantly sell out, but currently on their website they have a wide range of special editions that look absolutely incredible that haven't been sold out yet, at least. But yeah, I was one of the very first customers of the Broken Binding when they initially launched, and I am so ridiculously excited that they have grown into this absolutely incredible company that is able to deliver these incredible books for a very reasonable price, in my opinion. So if you want to support an indie shop and also upgrade your library with some absolutely incredible books, then I'll leave a link in the description down below where you can check out their books. Thank you so much to the Broken Binding for sponsoring this video. So I'm here with Gabriela Houston. Gabriela, can you convince me to read a book?
Okay, so the book I would like to recommend to you is by Caroline Hardacre, and it's Composite Creatures.
Wow.
Caroline is a hugely talented poet and novelist, and she writes quite literary speculative fiction. So Composite Creatures is a near future kind of medical dystopia. So it's looking at what's happening now with the privatization of medical services, and where it could take us in the sort of nearer future, and what people might do in order to prolong their lives. And it's more about ethical inertia, I think, than it is about like active pursuit of something. And it's And it's beautifully showing what happens when we allow ourselves to become inert in our morals and ethics.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Gabriela. I'm here with Jeremy Szal. Jeremy, can you convince me to read a book?
Yes, you should read the Red Rising series if you haven't already. The entire first trilogy is amazing. It's got heart, it's got action, it's got amazing world building, it's got amazing character relationships. My books would not exist if it wasn't for the Red Rising books. Like it actually convinced me that you can write a fast, gritty, dark story that still has a lot of emotional depth and texture while still moving the story forward at a relentless pace. And without Red Rising, there would be no Stormblood, and I wouldn't have a career. So I owe Pierce Brown one, and you should all read his books because they are fantastic.
What a great recommendation. Thank you so much.
No worries.
And fate would have it that I would accidentally end up sitting in a group with people and Shannon Chakraborty was there. I had to go up to her. I'm here with Shannon Chakraborty and Prasanth. Shannon, can you convince me to read a book?
Yes, I am going to convince you to read his book, The Spice Gate. I loved it. It just came out about 3 weeks ago, and there are very few books that in fantasy that get humor and sort of like a lightheartedness very well, and I loved that. It was just, in a lot of the characters, like you wanted to root for the main character and also shake him sometimes. What I also really loved is it felt like it balanced, a lot of us read fantasy to escape or to travel someplace new, and there was just some of the best world building and descriptions of places and different ways they went. I felt like I was like traveling through these gates along with the characters, and I just really loved it. And then once I knew it was doing that, I was excited. I was like, oh, now we're gonna get to the next one. So I loved it. It does everything that fantasy does really well, which is kind of capture adventure and humor and new worlds.
That's very high praise. Are you going to be able to top that? Can you convince me to read a book?
Oh yes, I can. I don't think I need to convince you to read Shannon's wonderful pirate fantasy, which is called as The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi. It's got some of my favorite locations, the Indian Ocean. So if at all you want to read about the Indian Ocean, you definitely need to read Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi. I'm also going to plug in one more book. This is by Amal Singh. It's called A Garden of Delights. It's by an independent press called Flame Tree Press. And imagine like a Studio Ghibli-esque feeling about a garden whose flowers have magical properties. And so if you like that kind of a vibe, then Garden of Delights is for you.
Well, this turned into be a very wholesome moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, another day and I've gotten so many amazing recommendations and I found Shannon Chakraborty. She actually gave me a book recommendation. But I still haven't found George R.R. Martin. Literally, no one seems to be able to find him. Basically, at this point in this challenge, I don't think I'm gonna find him. He'll probably have a billion bodyguards anyway around him if I am able to find him. And there's just no way I'm actually gonna be able to whip out my camera and actually ask him for a book recommendation. I mean, that guy is way too famous. At this point, I was absolutely delighted. I had talked to so many authors and even ticked 3 of my unicorns off the list. I had kinda given up on finding George R.R. Martin, so I continued on my quest to speak to as many authors as possible. But just wait until the end because I couldn't believe what happened. But first, let's talk to some more authors. I'm here with Palmer Pickering. Palmer, can you convince me to read a book?
Yeah, I'm going to try to convince you to read Philip Quantrell's Court of Assassins.
What's so great about it?
Well, so the writing is just very good. You've read Philip Quantrell. It's just very smooth,
I read the
right?
first trilogy and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so it's just fun and it's unique, and the whole assassin thing is very compelling. And there's some heart stuff in it. It's just really a fun read, and it's also the type of read that I can hop in and out of, right? You don't have to concentrate so much.
Absolutely.
So I really enjoy that because I'm like kind of ADD and I'm always reading multiple books. But I've kept with this one and I'm about to wrap it up, so you might enjoy it.
Nice. Oh, I'm pretty sure Philip is actually going to watch this, so he's probably happy now. Thank you so much. I'm here with Gregory Kontaxis, the author of the Dance of Light series. Gregory, convince me to read a book.
So, I will convince you to read 2. Way of Kings, first of all, because it's the best start in epic fantasy I have ever read, and also Snowman from Yom Nesbo, if you like crime and mystery, because again, it's one of the best startings, the prologue that I have read in crime. So, if you want to hook up directly with the book, read those 2.
That is a good recommendation. I mean, Way of Kings, you can't really go wrong with that one, can you?
Exactly.
Thank you, Gregory. Now, it was coming to the end of my conference and I hadn't found George R.R. Martin anywhere until suddenly someone came running up to me and told me he was walking around so close to me. I hurried and yes, suddenly he was just there. I didn't really have the nerves to ask him if he wanted to be in my video, but there was no one there, so I went for it. And here is the result. Hi everyone, I'm literally here with George R. R. Martin right now. I can't believe this. Excellent, thank you so much.
Yes,
So,
you asked me for a recommendation.
I'm here with George R. R. Martin. Can you recommend me a book?
I'll recommend you a series of books by Jack Vance, one of my favorite science fiction and fantasy authors. He did both. He did a lot of great books. One of my favorites is the Demon Prince series. Wow. 5 books, short books. So all 5 are not the equal of one of my books, but they're a great series. So check out Jack Vance. He has a lot of other books. He wrote like 100 books. Wow. So try them.
Brilliant, thank you so much. What just happened? I was literally just able to speak to George R. R. Martin. I am absolutely mind blown. And he seems super nice. I mean, obviously there's quite a lot of people around him. Guys, George R. R. Martin literally recommended me a book. What is life? My voice is almost gone. That means that I've literally been able to get recommendations from 4 of my favorite authors. This weekend has been absolutely insane. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, you're still here and you want more? Well, the good news is that I have a Viking Book Club on my Patreon. If you join my Patreon, then you get access to an exclusive book club where every single month we read one book together and the book can be put forward by you. If you join tier 3 or 4, then you can put a book forward and then I randomly choose a book from the pot that we end up reading together, and throughout the month we discuss the book on the Patreon chats. And then we also have Zoom hangouts, which honestly are some of my favorite times of the month. This month we're reading this book, and next month we're gonna be reading this book. Also, since I launched my Patreon, I basically spent my money back into the channel on video editing. I've had more than 40 videos professionally edited, so if you want to support what I do here and also help me upload more consistently, then I'll leave a link in the description down below.